अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So we are beginning with the Shravana Utsava, a festival of hearing about the pastimes of the Lord. And we are hearing the nectarian pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, with regard to hearing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes a very wonderful verse where he explains how nectarian the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are. So he says, कृष्णोत कीर्तन गान नर्तन कला पथोजली भर्जिता सद्भक्तावली हम सचक्र मधुपा श्रेणी विहारस्पदम कर्णानंदी कला ध्वनेर वहतु में जिह्वा मरु प्रांगणे श्री चैतन्य दयानिधे तव लसत लीला सुधा स्वर धुनि। So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is praying to Lord Chaitanya, O ocean of mercy, Shri Chaitanya Dayanidhe. We find somebody to be merciful to us, help us in some direction. But we rarely find somebody as merciful as somebody who can shower mercy like ocean. Ocean has a great reservoir of water, very deep, abundant water. That is the kind of mercy of Lord Chaitanya. No comparison. It is something like ocean mercy of the Lord. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is praying, Sri Chaitanya Dayanidhe, O ocean of mercy. And he is saying, my dear Lord, your pastimes, they can be compared to Tava Lasat Leela, your shining, very opulent Leelas. Sudha, they are all nectarian. Swaradhuni, they are nectarian and they are just like Ganga, whose water is Amrita. So very beautifully he is comparing the pastimes of the Lord to the nectarian water of river Ganga. And then he is saying, let this nectarian pastime of river Ganga, let it flow on my tongue. And what is my tongue? He says, my tongue is like desert, always craving for water. So he is saying, Vahatu means let it flow. This river Ganges, this beautiful pastimes of yours, which is like the river Ganga. Vahatu, let it flow. Vahatu me jivha, let it flow on my tongue. Maru prangane, in the courtyard of my tongue, which is like Maru, which is like a desert. Actually, desert, if you want to make it fertile, if you want that some fruit should grow in desert, you require abundance of water, fresh water, not ocean water. Fresh water you require, abundance. And he compares, unfortunately, our tongue, which is like a desert, vibrates on so many hundreds and thousands of topics, material topics. But what is the pleasure they give? Like a drop. My tongue is like a desert, and I am so unfortunate, I am vibrating with it all kinds of material topic, and that is giving me a satisfaction just like drop of water in a desert. So he is saying, my dear Lord, your pastimes, your leelas, they are like Sudha, Swaradhuni, they are like Amrita, they are like nectar of river Ganges. So let it flow on my tongue, which is like a desert. And then he says, Krishnot kirtan gan nartan kala pathojani bharjita. What are these pastimes, activities filled with? Your activities of loudly chanting the holy name of the Lord. Krishna Utkirtana, Gana, singing of the holy name, Nartana, dancing, Kala, and many other beautiful pastimes. What are they? They are like Pathojani Bharjita, beautiful lotuses in that Ganges. So first of all, river Ganga itself is Amrita, and in midst of that, your beautiful pastimes like loudly chanting the holy name of the Lord, dancing in ecstasy, singing, and many other beautiful pastimes, they are all like beautiful lotuses in that river Ganga. And who are the people who actually relish these pastimes? So he says, Sadbhaktavali, the group of pure devotees. Bhakta Avali, Avali means rose. Group of pure devotees, they are compared to Hamsa, Chakra, Madhupa. Your pure devotees, they are like the swans, the ducks, and the bees, which always swarms around the lotus flower. So, Shreni Viharaspadam. These groups of devotees, Shreni Viharaspadam, this is the pleasure groove for them. These beautiful lotuses of singing, dancing, this is the residence of the pure devotees. They relish, they enjoy them. And further he is saying, Karnanandi Kala Dhvanir, the beautiful dhvani which is produced by all these pure devotees of the Lord, along with the river flowing and the lotus flower together, it is very, very pleasing to the heart. So very beautifully Prabhupada translates this. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges water of your transcendental leelas flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swan, ducks and bees. The river flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears and hearts. So you can just imagine, these are the types of nectarian pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. The transient pleasures of this material world, they cannot compare. They are just like a drop, and our requirement is like the desert which requires abundance water. So, topics of Lord Chaitanya, these leelas of the Lord, they are like this ocean of flowing river Ganga. So, in today's Katha, we will try to understand two aspects of the Lord. One is the advent of the Lord, the reason behind why the Lord advented, how he advented, what he performed, and few of his childhood pastimes. So, somebody can lower this, too much volume. There is a very beautiful verse composed by Lord Chaitanya, which summarizes the most important reason for the descent of Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Cell problem. That other why that other mic is not used? Anyway, so Rupa Goswami describes this very beautiful verse. Anarpita charim chirat karuna vatirnaya kalau samarpayitum unnatojwalam rasam swabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha sada hriday kandare sfurtu va sachinandanaha. So he explains that the Supreme Lord, he appeared in order to bestow something, the treasure of love of God, which he had not bestowed for a very long time. Now this is very important. Prabhupada explains, Krishna can bestow even mukti very easily, but very rarely the Lord bestows pure devotional service. It is not very easy. So how Rupa Goswami explains is, anarpita, that which was not bestowed, charim, formerly, chirat, for a long time, that treasure was kept locked. The Lord did not open it. The Lord did not distribute it to the people. Karuna vatirna kalau. For the fallen people of Kali Yuga, being very merciful on them, the Supreme Lord advented. For what? Samarpayitum, in order to bestow. Unnato ujjvala rasam, very elevated, not ordinary. Unnata means very elevated. Ujjvala rasam means the mellows in devotional service. Swabhakti Shriyam, of his own devotional service. Shriyam means actually this is a treasure. That treasure of bhakti which constitutes the topmost of the mellows, which the Lord never distributed early for a long time. For the fallen people of Kali Yuga, the Lord advented to distribute this treasure. And that Supreme Lord, Hari Purata Sundara, more brilliant than gold. Purata means gold, Sundara means more beautiful than gold, more resplendent than even the gold. Dyuti Kadamba Sandipitaha, multitude of, if you multiply the golden splendor thousands of times, and then when it becomes illuminated, Sandipitaha, that can be compared to something. That is the kind of the splendor of Lord Chaitanya. That is why he is called as Golden Avatar. He comes in the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani. And he is saying, Sada Hriday Kandare, let the son of Mother Sachi, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, be always situated in the core of your heart. Hridaya Kandare Spuratu, manifest. Spuratu means let him be manifest. Sachinandanaha. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that actually why Lord Chaitanya's descent is considered to be very rare, because even Krishna's appearance in this material world is very rare. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains how rare it is. He says Lord Krishna appear only once in a day of Brahma. And you will be shocked to understand the span of one day of Brahma. And similarly one night. That means 12 hours of Brahma. Once in 12 hours of Brahma, Lord Krishna appears. So, just like our Day, it is divided in hours, 24 hours. Brahma's day is divided in manvantaras. In one day of Brahma, there are 14 manus, 14 manvantara. Every manu lives his whole life, that is called as manvantara. So that means one manu appeared, possibility Krishna may not appear in that. Second manu appears, possibility Krishna may not appear even in that manvantara. Third manu, like that 14. In 14, once only Krishna appears. So what is the length of manvantara? So that is explained. One cycle of these 4 yugas, that is called Divya Yuga. Satyuga, Dwapara, Treta, Kali Yuga. Suppose Satyuga has come, then Dwapar, then Treta, and then Kali Yuga has come. One cycle it is over, it is called one Divya Yuga. So, 71 Divya Yuga, that means 71 times the cycle of Satyuga, Treta, Dwapara, Kali Yuga, like that 71 times it rotates. That is considered to be one Manvantara. So like that 14 Manvantaras, then the Lord appears. So the present Manu is Vaivasvata Manu, son of Vivashwan. He is the 7th Manu. And it is said of his Manvantara, totally now 71 Divya Yugas in one Manvantara, 27 Divya Yuga have passed. And this is the 28th which is going on. So, Krishna will not appear in 29th, Krishna will not appear in 30th, up to 71 he will not appear. And before that also, first Manvantara of even Vaivasvata Manu, he will not appear. Even in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, after 27th have passed, 28th Divya Yuga. So of the 28th Divya Yuga, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna appears, and in that same Divya Yuga, when the Kali Yuga appears, Lord Chaitanya appears. So you can imagine how rare is the appearance of the Lord, Krishna himself, and then Lord Chaitanya, who comes only after appearance of Krishna. So, it is explained what happened when the Lord appeared in the 28th Divya Yuga, just 5,000 years back. Krishna appeared, correct? In this Divya Yuga, Krishna appeared around 5,000 years back. So it is said, the Supreme Lord, why he comes personally? So many of his incarnations come. Narsimha, Vamana, so many of his Rama. The Supreme Lord comes in Vrajadham to himself enjoy and give pleasure to his pure devotees in 4 very intimate prema rasa. Dasya, Vatsalya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and then Madhurya. So absorbed, prema avishtha, absorbed in these four rasas, Krishna performs his Vraj Leelas. So Shantarasa is not even mentioned. Shantarasa is not exactly the beginning of activities with the Supreme Lord. It comes more in Vidhi Bhakti, wherein one is worshipping the Supreme Lord in awe and reverence. Prema Bhakti begins with Dasya Rasa, and the topmost Unnatto Ujjvala Rasam is Madhurya Rasa. So the Supreme Lord He understands that the living entity in this material world, the real purpose of this material world is not that the living entity simply becomes liberated from here. The real purpose of his creation is served, otherwise the Supreme Lord thinks it is useless. When the living entity becomes once again reunited with him in any of these four rasas, then the real purpose of the Supreme Lord appearance is served. So the Supreme Lord personally comes, enjoys these four rasas in his Vraja Leela, and then disappears. And then later he thinks that actually the whole world is worshipping me with rules and regulation, with veneration, Vidhi Bhakti. But then, with this Vidhi Bhakti, one cannot attain Vraj Bhakti, Vraj Bhava. There is no possibility. There is no Shakti in Vidhi Bhakti that one can attain Vraj Bhava. The kind of devotional service which was rendered by Gopis in Vrindavan, Ramya Kachit Upasana, it is said that the devotional mellows conceived by Vrajavadhus is the topmost. So much so that Krishna, who is considered to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and who says, Ye yatha mam prapadhyante tams tatev bhajami aham. I reciprocate according to your surrender. He says to the gopis, my dear gopis, you be satisfied with your bhakti because even I have no power to reciprocate your love. I cannot give back your love. That is the kind of topmost love which even infuses the Supreme Lord to come and enjoy that rasa in the bhava of Srimati Radharani. That is the kind of Vraj Bhakti which the Lord wanted to bestow in this age of Kali Yuga. So, it is said that the Lord understands that with his Aishwarya Gyan, that he is the Supreme Lord, he is most opulent. Devotion becomes feeble. If one becomes overly absorbed in the opulence of the Supreme Lord, one's mind will be filled only with awe and reverence for the Supreme Lord. Just like even in this material world, if you have a friend and if you are always thinking about he is very great, he is very great, he is very rich, he is a big man, very opulent man, You cannot have a heart-to-heart relationship with him ever. Because your activities, your love is hindered by that Aishwarya Gyan. So your real loving sentiments are obstructed by that Aishwarya Gyan. So Krishna is contemplating that everyone is worshipping me with that Vidhi Bhakti. First of all, Vidhi Bhakti cannot deliver Prema Bhakti. It cannot deliver Vraj Bhav like the gopis have. Secondly, it does not even attract me, Krishna is saying, because that loving sentiment becomes feeble when one is overly overwhelmed by the opulence of the Supreme Lord. So it does not attract me. So thinking like this, Krishna personally planned that now is the time coming. Krishna disappeared 5,000 years back, and then he saw Kali Yuga has begun now. At the end of Dwapar Yuga, the Lord disappeared, and after the disappearance, Kali Yuga began. So the Lord is contemplating that Kali Yuga is beginning now. And in this Kali Yuga, one of the Amsha is supposed to come, who is going to inaugurate the Yuga Dharma. Actually, it is said the Supreme Lord's Amsha, expansions of the Lord Himself, are sufficient to actually inaugurate the Yuga Dharma. So every Yuga has a Yuga Dharma. Krite yadhyayato Vishnum. Dhyana Yoga was the Yuga Dharma for Sat Yuga. So Krishna's plenary expansion came, inaugurated that. Tretayam yajato makhai. In Treta Yuga, Yagna, performing sacrificial ceremonies to please the Lord. That was Yuga Dharma. And another plenary portion of the Lord came, inaugurated that. Dwapare Paricharyayam. Dwapar Yuga, the Supreme Lord personally came. He was personally present. And elaborate temple worship. Kalau tad Hari Kirtanat. And in Kali Yuga, when the time came to inaugurate the Yuga Dharma, the Lord thought, Yuga Dharma, I don't have to go personally. Even my plenary portion, even my Amsha can inaugurate. But no one except me can bestow Prema Bhakti to the living entities. So I will go and inaugurate this Sankirtana movement. And in that Sankirtana movement, I will bestow these four kinds of loving devotional sentiment. Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Prema, by chanting and dancing. So the Lord personally thought of coming and inaugurating this Sankirtana movement. And so much so, that is why it is said that just by chanting the holy name of the Lord has invested his energies that one can get Krishna Prema. Just by chanting and dancing, one can be endowed with this Vraja Bhakti. So, the Supreme Lord personally came to distribute this Vraj Prema, to inaugurate this Sankirtana movement. So there it is said, thinking like this, in the Pratham Sandhya of this Kali Yuga, it has 12 Sandhyas. Kali Yuga has 12 Sandhyas. First Sandhya beginning is called Prathama Sandhya. Last Sandhya, 12th, is called Shesha Sandhya. So in the Prathama Sandhya, the Lord advented at Navadvip. So there it says that the Lord has two different descriptions in his pastimes, divisions in his pastimes. One is called as his early pastimes and later pastimes. In his early pastime, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who lived for 48 years, for 24 years Lord Chaitanya lived in Navadvip with his devotees in Grahasthashram. And his name at that time was Vishwambhara. And in his later pastimes, he was called as Shri Krishna Chaitanya. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains very important meaning of these two pastimes of the Lord. He says, in his early pastimes, he is called as Vishwambhara. There is a reason behind this. There is a Sanskrit root word called as Dubhran. This word Bhra, Vishwambhara, it comes from this root word Dubhran, which has two meanings: Poshana, Dharana, nourishing and maintaining. Poshana means nourishing and Dharana means maintaining. The Supreme Lord maintains and nourishes the three worlds by distributing love of Godhead. Profusely Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed love of Godhead in his first 24 years, performing Kirtana practically everywhere. Udilo Aruna Puraba Bhage, right? We hear that. Every morning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would rise up and go to the streets of Navadvip, chanting the holy names of God, imbuing everyone in the flood of love of Godhead. So he nourishes and he maintains the three worlds, and that is why he is called as Vishwambhara. In his later pastimes, he is called as Krishna Chaitanya because he blesses the world by glorifying the Supreme Lord, his name and his fame. So he was called as Shri Krishna Chaitanya. So that is how we find when the Lord personally appeared, he indicated that the main purpose of the Supreme Lord adventing on that Falguni Purnima, when the Lord advented, there was a lunar eclipse. And generally, whenever there is an eclipse, it is a tradition in our Vedic system that all people at that time, they go to holy rivers. So all over India, when the Lord appeared at that time, when there was an eclipse, the whole idea is, it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rahu also thought that when Lord Chaitanya Chandra is appearing, what is the use of this what is the use of this Chandra? Isn't it? So he covered. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot be compared even with millions of moons appearing. Cannot be compared. So he thought what this Chandrama would do when Lord Chaitanya himself is personally appearing. So he went and covered. So all the residents of India, especially in Navadvip, it is said, they all were bathing in water, river Ganga. And they were all chanting the holy name of the Lord. And in the midst of that chanting, the Supreme Lord took his birth, appeared, signifying that he has appeared in the midst of chanting the holy names of the Lord, and he is going to propagate Nama Sankirtana everywhere. So that is a very significance of the birth of Lord Chaitanya, it is said. So when the Lord appeared, in the very beginning, his father and mother Sachi Devi, both of them, the first thing they saw was some unusual marks on the feet of the Lord. So they could not understand. When the child started walking, they were surprised to see that everywhere in the house these marks are there. And they were contemplating that probably sometimes it happens that we are worshipping Shaligram Shila. Probably Shaligram Shila has taken a form because Shaligram Shila is non-different from the Lord. And Lord Krishna is personally walking, and that is how these footprints are there. And we are very unfortunate, we are not able to see the Lord. He is walking around, marking the earth with his footprints. So then, on the plea of falling down, Utthana, it is said, when the Lord started getting up and falling down, then the parents observed that the same marks which are there on the floor is actually present on the lotus feet of the Lord. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, when the Lord tried to walk in his small footprint, the specific mark of Lord Vishnu were visible. Dhwaja, Vajra, Shankha, Chakra and Meena. So all these very, very distinguishing marks of Lord Vishnu, they were present. Dekhiya donhara chitte janmila vismaya, kara pad chinna grahe na paya nischaya. So seeing all these marks, father and mother, they could not understand what these footprints were. They were always struck with wonder. So how it is possible that it has come in their ghara, in their house, it has come. So Jagannath Mishra, then he is saying to Mother Sachi, Mishra kahe, Bal Gopal ache Sheela sange, Tenho murti hana ghare kele jani range. So Jagannath Mishra said, certainly Krishna is with Shaligram Shila. Taking his childhood form, he is playing within the room. So he is wondering like that. So when Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra were talking, then the child Nimai, he woke up and he began to cry. And then Mother Sachi took him on the lap and allowed him to drink milk. Sthane piyate putrera charan dekhila, sei chinha paya dekhi mishrela bolila. So Mother Sachi saw the same footprints, and then she called Jagannath Mishra and said that the same footprints what we saw on the floor is actually present on the child's soul. Actually, these are the distinguishing features of the Supreme Lord, which distinguishes even the other residents of Vaikuntha. These special marks are visible only on the sole of the lotus feet of the Lord. So immediately, Jagannath Mishra, he called Nilambar Chakravarti. renowned astrologer of his time, who is considered to be Garga Muni himself. The same astrologer who came and gave prediction of Lord Krishna in Krishna Leela came as Nilambar Chakravarti and gave prediction about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then he came. चिन्ह देखी चक्रवर्ती बले न हसिया, लग्न गणी पूर्वे आमी रखियाची लिखिया. When Nilambar Chakravarti saw those marks, smilingly he said, formerly I ascertained all this by astrological calculation and I have noted down in my writing. And then he says, Batrisha Lakshana Mahapurusha Bhushana Ei Shishu Ange Dekhiye Sabalakshana. The 32 bodily marks which are symptoms of a great personality I see in the body of this child. So all the different, and that is how then he conducted the naming ceremony and he named him as Vishwambara, and he gave this reason why he is giving this name as Vishwambara, because he will maintain and he will nourish all the three worlds. That is why he gave. Another beautiful pastimes of the Lord, which is mentioned very briefly by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, is about when the Supreme Lord started crawling on the ground. So when he started crawling, one day one snake appeared in the courtyard. And the Supreme Lord, as a child, immediately took hold of that snake, and the snake coiled around his body, and the Supreme Lord was lying on him like Mahavishnu, lying on his serpent bed. And then after some time, the serpent released the Supreme Lord and went away. So this is another of the pastime briefly described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. One more of his pastime which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami briefly explains is about one day some thieves, they entered in the house of Jagannath Mishra. So just like Krishna used to be very beautifully decorated with all kinds of ornaments by Mother Yashoda, similarly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood was very beautifully decorated with all kinds of ornament by Mother Sachi. Of course, it is said about the Lord that when the Lord is decorated with all the ornaments, the beauty of the Lord enhances the beauty of the ornaments. In our case it is different. We are ugly and with ornaments we look little better. It's like if there are hairs, we look little better. That's why we shave off the hair, so that so-called material beauty is not there. Isn't it? So the ornaments make us look better and beautiful. They increase our beauty. But it is said about the Lord, then when the Lord is wearing the ornament, it is said in Bhagavatam, if you read it, it is said there, it increases the beauty of the ornaments. So, but of course out of love, the pure devotees, they want to decorate the Supreme Lord. In Krishna's pastime also we find that the gopis were complaining to Mother Yashoda, take out all these ornaments, take out. Because with this ornament, even in dark, he is able to see all our belongings. He is able to find out where we have kept butter, where we have kept yogurt, everything. He steals them and feeds them to the monkeys. So we are telling you, better you take out all his ornaments. And then when Mother Yashoda wanted to take out all the ornaments, they are saying, no, don't take out. They are saying, because with ornament or without ornament, it does not matter. Your children, they have a special glow that even in dark they can see. They don't require an ornament to see. So, Mother Sachi also would decorate Nimai very beautifully. So one day some thieves were attracted, and their idea was to carry this small child on their shoulder and go to the forest, kill him, murder him, take away all the jewels. But the Supreme Lord immediately exhibited his Yogamaya potency and covered the vision of these thieves. They went to the forest and came back to Jagannath Mishra's house, and they were surprised, shocked to see that we are back at the same point from where we went. They had planned to take away the child to the nearby forest, but after going around they came back and they saw that everybody is searching after the child. So they thought it wise that better leave him there. So immediately they left him there. And so this is also one of the pastime very briefly described. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that he does not want to elaborate, because all these pastimes are elaborately described by Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavata. So one more pastime, small pastime, and then there are many more pastimes actually. Lord Chaitanya would also steal from the houses, just like Lord Krishna would steal butter, and like that many belongings of the neighboring villages, of the neighboring houses. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as small Nimai, he would go and steal all their eatables. And similar to Lord Krishna, he would break their pots, and they would all come complaining to Mother Sachi about that. Mother Sachi would scold him that, what do you lack in your house? Why do you go to others' house? So one day, Mother Sachi had given him sandesh to eat. And instead of eating sandesh, Nimai was eating mud, mati. So mother asked, what are you doing? I gave you sandesh to eat and you are eating mati. So he said, my dear mother, what are you saying? What is the difference? Sandesh is also mati and mati is also mati. Whether I eat sandesh, whether I eat mati, finally this is also earth. And what is this body? This body is also transformation of earth. So it is all earth. What is the difference between that? So Mother Sachi immediately chastised him. He said, what nonsense you are talking? Who has taught you this philosophy? And even though Mother Sachi was not a learned scholar, but she gave very valuable understanding about this whole philosophy. She said, my dear son, in the mati in the form of sandesh, transformed as sandesh, will nourish your body. The same mati in the form of earth will make your body diseased, even though it is the same mati. And then she said, this mati as earthen pot, I can hold water in it and it will be of so many utilities. The same earth, without being an earthen pot, if it is just like a raw earth, it is not of much use. I pour water, it will absorb water, but it will not give you water. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, why did you not teach me this understanding earlier? So like this, there are many beautiful pastime. One more pastime is there, I think. If you feel 5 minutes I can spend. One more beautiful pastime is there. Then maybe in some other time if we get, we will discuss more. Once there was a roaming Brahmana who was going around the whole of India to different pilgrimage places, going at different houses, staying in the houses of some people and offering whatever he would cook to the Supreme Lord, and then only he would partake prasadam. So once it so happened that he came in the house of Jagannath Mishra. He became a guest in their house, and he asked that I want to offer the Supreme Lord and then only I will partake prasadam. So please give me ingredients. So Jagannath Mishra gave all the ingredients and then he cooked bhoga. And when he was just sitting and reciting his mantras to offer to Krishna, so immediately he saw this child Nimai comes, eats away that bhoga. Then he is thinking that actually my whole offering is spoiled, because when offering is going on, no one should touch it. Only Pujari, he offers it to the Supreme Lord. That too without thinking about tasting it. It is an offense. If somebody is thinking, I want to eat it, I want to taste it. So he immediately thought that I must have done some offenses and that is why the Lord has not accepted my offering. So he again asked Jagannath Mishra to provide him with all these ingredients. Once again, second time he cooked. But again this child came and again he ate away. Then he requested Jagannath Mishra, please lock him in the room. So Jagannath Mishra locked him inside the room. Third time, this Brahmana, again with all ingredients, cooked that bhoga. And again when he closed his eyes and he was offering, child Nimai again came and started eating that offerings. So he became very desperate and he was crying, alas, what have I done? Why the Lord is not accepting my offering? So many times I have tried. And then the Lord immediately became very pleased with this Brahmana, and he personally gave him darshan as Krishna himself, and he said, my dear Brahmana, in your earlier pastime, you were a guest of Nanda Baba, and there also I disturbed you similarly. So now it's a repetition of that same pastime, and I troubled you once again to show my mercy upon you. But don't disclose this fact to anyone, and you simply leave the village after this. So being completely bestowed with mercy of the Supreme Lord, this Brahmana left from that village later. So these are some of the beautiful childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And tomorrow again we are going to have the Shravan Utsav continuously for 7 days. Hear attentively, enjoy and relish these beautiful pastimes of the Lord. And they're all by great acharyas, Prabhupada describing, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, one of the greatest of the devotees who has described the different pastimes of the Lord. We are reading from that. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.